There is a fascinating story that I read on townhall.com earlier this week. The author was Joe Connor, and the headline was, BLM's intentions sound all too familiar. That is so true. We called Joe, wanted to get him on to tell the story. He's with us now. You can follow him on Twitter at Joseph F. Connor and WeWinAmerica.com. Joe, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Glenn. Thanks for having me.
Tell me what happened on January 24th, 1975.
My mom was going to have our party. I was turning 9. My brother, actually, I turned 9 on January 20th. My brother had turned 11 on the 13th. We were going to be having a birthday party for us. That evening was a Friday. My father was at work. He worked for the Morgan Bank. He had lunch at Fraunces Tavern, which is where George Washington bade farewell to his officers after the Revolutionary War, where Alexander Hamilton and the Sons of Liberty met, and where a bunch of New York Wall Street guys met and had lunch. A bomber walked a package in, set it behind the table where my father and his clients had just moved. They didn't like their original table, and they moved tables to be in a bit of a better spot. Within a few minutes, the package was pushed to the side and detonated. It injured 60 people and killed 4, including my dad. He was 33 years old, Frank Connor. He was an American success story. Mother was an Irish immigrant who worked in the bank and got him the job after high school, and his father was an elevator operator from England. And the FALN, was a Puerto Rican terrorist group, left a message saying that this was to hit reactionary corporate executives, which is a very Marxist phrase. And they appointed themselves as judge, jury, and executioner, really profiling the type person they wanted to murder in a place where liberty was born in this country.
So Joe,
that's what happened that day.
They did not target. Okay, hang on just a second. They did not target your dad specifically. They were just after big fat capitalists, right?
That was that's what they wrote. Reactionary corporate executives. So the term reactionary raises flags immediately because that means that's a Marxist type term. And my dad was anything but. He was 33 years old. He was a working class guy from Manhattan, not far from where some of these guys lived. He went to CCNY after CCNY, which is City College of New York, after high school. And years later, the CCNY erected a student center called the Morales Shakur Center. William Morales was the bomber who built the bomb that murdered my father and who's now in Cuba. And Asanta Shakur is Joanne Chesimard, who murdered Werner Forster on the Jersey Turnpike. So we got them to shut that place down. But this is the kind of stuff that has gone on since his murder, let alone the clemencies from the Clintons and Obama.
So I want to talk to you about that. So what happened after the bomb went off and the police started to investigate? Who was responsible for it, and what happened to those people?
Well, the FALN claimed responsibility in a communique that was left right around the block. I actually have a picture of Oscar Lopez, who was given clemency twice and finally left prison when Obama released him in 2017. And I have a picture of him.
Okay, don't get ahead of yourself.
Okay.
Hang on, Joe. Don't get ahead of yourself. Most people don't even know what FALN is.
Yeah.
Tell me what the FLAN is.
Yep. Okay. The FALN was the Armed Forces for National Liberation, the acronym in Spanish for this Puerto Rican Marxist group who was claiming that they wanted independence for Puerto Rican people and independence from the United States. Obviously, in plebiscites on the island, only 5 or 6% ever vote for independence. So they had no standing. They were a Cuban-based, Cuban-financed, trained terrorist group. They were arrested in Chicago in the early 80s. They were sentenced to appropriately long prison terms of between 55 and 70 years. At sentencing, they threatened to kill the judge. Judge McMillan actually carried 2 6-shooters under his robe because these guys are diabolical. I'm not kidding. And they
No,
said,
I love that.
it's great. One of them said, if we were, we're George Washington, to that he replied, well, yes, of course. And if the British had caught George Washington, they'd have hanged him. And that's what the judge wanted to do. But they were never specifically charged with the Fraunces bombing, but they were put away for 70 years in Chicago. And if you remember the world in the early 80s, there was not a lot of money to bring them back to New York to face similar charges. There was no death penalty for them anyway. So they were basically sent away for life until 1999 when Hillary Clinton was running for senator from New York. Bill Clinton and Eric Holder put together a plan and offered them clemency, which they outright refused. And for 30 days were given the opportunity to talk to each other until on September 10th, 1999, they accepted the clemency, all except one, and walked out of prison. Oscar Lopez was the one who denied it. Yep.
Go ahead.
No,
okay, didn't Bill Clinton let one of them out on his last day in office?
Not the Obama let Lopez out on his last day in office. Clinton let
the guy who rejected the early clemency.
Yeah. But who Clinton did release Susan Rosenberg on his last day in office, and she is now a financier.
How is she?
Yeah, sorry. She's now
that's
a
all right. How is
Black
she?
Lives Matter.
So what was her role earlier?
Sure. She was.
Why did she go to jail? She was
a member of a group called the Family. It gets a little complicated, but there were. You throw yourself back 40 years, and there were tons of these little groups, and they were all connected. You had the Weather Underground, you had the Family, you had the May 19th Communist Organization, you had the FALN, you had the BLA, you had all these different groups. Well, the Family pulled an armored car robbery in Nanuet, New York, and they killed 2 cops and security guards, actually 3. Susan Rosenberg drove the getaway car for these terrorists who killed these cops. She was subsequently caught in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, with explosives. She was sent to prison, and she was released in Bill Clinton's last days in office. But before she went to prison, before the armored car robberies, she broke out William Morales and Joanne Chesimard as part of the Family. That was the name of her terrorist group. She busted them out of prison. Morales was at Bellevue Hospital Prison in New York. He was the bomb maker for the FALN. He was in the prison in the hospital because he had blown himself up on July 12th, 1978. Would have been my dad's 37th birthday. And he lost 9 of his fingers, part of his face. Yet he escaped from prison with the help of the Family. And then Joanne Chesimard, who murdered Warner Forster, was also broken out of prison by Suzanne Rosenberg and the group The Family. They both are now in Cuba.
So she was not only a member of the Family, but she was also a member of the May 19 Communist Organization.
That's right.
And the May 19th Communist Organization was a radical, anti-family, lesbian terrorist group, right?
Yeah, and they got their name from, it was Ho Chi Minh's birthday is May 19th, so that's how they picked up their name. So they were absolutely many of the same things that Black Lives Matter is talking about, which is destruction of the family, which is the Marxism, the taking down of the U.S. They're the same themes that these terrorist groups back then offered. And my point in the article was that these connections have never gone away. I mean, when I went to that CCNY student center that I talked about, and there's a picture on my website, there's that same fist painted on the walls with a red background. It's the same logo that the Black Lives Matter people use. So the point is, Black Lives Matter is true. It as a phrase, of course, Black Lives Matter. But as an organization, it's not what it pretends to be. Like back then, if you looked at the FALN, it was the Armed Forces or the May 19th Communists. They identified themselves who they were. Today, they're a bit more sublime, a little bit smarter, a little bit better marketing. So they come up with a slogan that you can't deny without really revealing who they are or what their intentions are. But it's the same thing. So I would say Black Lives count. It really just bothered me when I saw today Bill de Blasio is painting Black Lives Matter, which is an organization that raises money for the Democrat Party and to take down America. And he's using public street, public time. He's the mayor, and he's advocating for an individual organization that raises money. Certainly, that's a problem. And you talk about impeachable offenses. I mean, my God. So, we really have to wake up and understand who we're dealing with. These euphemisms are, they're kind of taken over, and people don't see past it.